And we're just going to do what we did, what Don did last week, which is just an update of what's been going on the core team. Short week due to the bank holiday. Hope you all had a great bank holiday, lovely weather. And so we'll start with, oh, here's Nicole. So well done, Nicole. So Don, shall we start with you?
Yes. The good news to report is it's all been very quiet, which leads us to believe that everybody is coping very well. We talked last week about newsletters and the welcome and the wellbeing cards. We're expecting those to be ready from printout today and to be circulated to street coordinators later this week, hopefully for delivery to people over the weekend. The theme coming out of the core team meeting that we've just finished is about emergence from lockdown, and in particular the businesses restarting after Boris's announcements yesterday of further relaxations. So we're looking to see how we can help businesses reopen in the village, and the continuing theme of people's mental health, well, particularly those that have been shielding and have very little human contact for weeks and weeks and weeks, and that will continue. So how can we as coordinators and volunteers help those people get through all of this, either with phone calls or socially distant visiting? So those are the themes that came out. So I think the conversation today might usefully talk about emergence from lockdown and the role of this group in that effort. That's me.
Thank you. And then Neil, I see you've just joined. Any update from you, Neil, this week?
Well, I'm hoping to collect the contact cards at lunchtime today from printout, and then liaise with Don about distribution. So it's sort of very much sort of as usual at this particular time. Just in line sort of with Don's message about sort of emergence from lockdown, sort of, hi friends, we are thinking about sort of what we can do sort of in the short term and in the longer term. It is really quite difficult until sort of we know what the government's approach is going to be to mass gatherings and things like that. And I think, you know, it's inevitable that sort of there won't be any large scale community events until sort of there is a vaccine, which is really sad. But you know, at this present moment in time, I just can't see any alternative.
Thank you, Neil. Thanks. And Nick, over to you.
Just got in. What am I doing? An update?
Yes, please.
Okay, so the 3 things that I'm doing, or that other people are doing on my behalf. The prescription stuff seems to be going okay. Morag, Hannah and Eileen are doing really well and self-organising, so I'm barely involved in that at all. They're doing a great job of making sure that people around the villages get their prescriptions at the right time. The pallet stuff is going well. We're collecting loads of food, probably on average about 10 Tesco carrier bags worth per day, which means that the Salvation Army are able to distribute to people who need it, more than just enough for them to make do, but something that's actually meaningful, something that's is more than just the basics. So that's really good, putting smiles on lots of people's faces. And I believe, and Georgina might be able to correct me here if I'm wrong, but we have capacity for a bit more. We're also collecting hand soap dispensers for the junior school and infant school. They have some big tubs of sanitizer and soap that they that are ready for when the schools reopen, but they want to be able to put them into much smaller containers so they can have a few in each classroom and various points around the schools. So we've been collecting small empty soap dispensers at the pallets. We've had quite a few. We still need a few more. So if everybody can keep up that message, that would be great. And the Meals on Wheels that I've been doing, which is the only thing that I'm actually doing at the moment, is going well. I've got 2 households that I'm delivering to on a regular basis, and a few other quite elderly people who are very proud, very independent, don't want to be a burden, but could do with a break from time to time. So I'm delivering meals to them on a semi-regular basis, just to give them a break from having to cook. But it's all going well, and thanks to everybody who's contributing, because it really does make a difference to people.
And Nick, the street events that happened on Saturday evening, they've also been donating and providing food.
Correct. So Orchard Road have been having a disco every 2 weeks and putting out a pallet. The first week they raised loads of food and essential items, which is amazing. And then this Saturday just gone, they had another one, and we probably got about 6 or 7 carrier bags full of food from them as well. And they're doing a grand job. And it seems that people are really enjoying being able to contribute to the effort, even though they might not be running around the village helping people out. They feel that they're contributing by giving food or essential items to the cause. And Simon Joslin looks like he did an absolutely fantastic job on his street of collecting pamper goods to distribute to the care homes, and also raised over 250 quid. So that's absolutely brilliant. That £250 has gone to the Salvation Army to help them purchase any food or essential items that they need. So yeah, absolutely fantastic effort. It seems to be bringing people together and raising awareness of the people in the village who are unable to maybe either look after themselves or just to make ends meet through no fault of their own. But it means that we're also able to look after them, which is great news.
Oops, so I think my video's been stopped. I'm not sure who's done that, but that's absolutely fine. Joe, how about you? Any, oh, okay, that's it, thank you. Neil, are you talking? Are you on mute?
No, I don't think, no, I'm not. I had a conversation with Georgina on Friday. Georgina's on holiday today, so she's not joining the call. And over the next 2 or 3 weeks, Georgina is going to individually visit about there's 12 or 14 village households that are benefiting from the food parcels. And one of the reasons to visit is to find out sort of what sort of the medium to long-term need is, because I think the system can't continue indefinitely, and I think we want to get a feel sort of for what the need is, because I think with the Cambridge Food Bank, they don't like to encourage a need of dependency on food banks, and I think we are going to need to be quite careful on how to withdraw the service, perhaps over a period of time, because we can't sort of, I don't think it's really practical for the village to have an ongoing food bank way into the future. And so this is on the horizon, but we're also mindful of the potential for a second wave, and sort of to keep some sort of contingency approach in the background. So that's where we're coming from at the moment.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you. Joe, we'll just run through all of the core team. Joe, have you got any updates for us today?
No, I don't think there's any updates for me really. There have been very few calls at all weekend. Well, there haven't been any calls all weekend into the general helpline. Obviously, different people helplines filled into different directions for prescriptions and things, but there've been nothing through to here. So I'm hoping that means everything's okay on the ground, because I think people have made the connections already that they need to. Obviously, we're in this for a long time, have been in this for a long while now, so I think they've worked out where they need to go and don't need to come to me, but I'm obviously here if they need to.
Thanks, Jo. Right, Pippa, over to you.
Thanks. And in terms of sort of linking in with South Cambs and this issue of emergence, so one, South Cambs has helped distribute the grants to businesses, the business loans, the £10,000 business loans. There is a second tranche of money that has come through, smaller and a little bit more complex in terms of the way it can be distributed. But if you know of any businesses that haven't received it, and this may be businesses that don't actually pay the business rate, it could be this area that we capture in this next time. So if you know of anybody that you think South Cambs is now trying to structure the format in which this additional tranche of money could be supported. So please do get in touch with me if you think there are businesses that we should be raising their case to South Cambs. Secondly, in terms of care homes, a new sort of frequently asked questions FAQ has just been produced across Cambridge and Peterborough level, all issues about what's happening in terms of testing, what's happening in terms of hospital discharge to care homes, what's happening in terms of those care homes that are in financial distress. Really, really good and comprehensive FAQ just being distributed, so we can share that. Then in terms of emerging and the mental health piece, I think the use we've all found of our open public space and green space is so important, and that's why it was critical to enable Milton Country Park to stay open, and therefore a grant rather than a loan was given to Milton Country Park. And I think Dennis can also update on some of the use of some of the sports grounds in the area. So keep getting everybody out there and using these open public and green spaces, which is so critical. And then linked to that, and what the role of this group may be as we go forward is, sort of how we green the recovery perhaps as well as we emerge. And so South Cambs just published and approved at full council last Thursday its zero carbon strategy, which is also about how we work with communities. So I'd be really interested in knowing how this group also could look at that, because we also know that's something that helps us in terms of mental health as well. But that's all from me. Thanks.
Thanks, Pippa. Dennis, I'm not sure if you'd like to give an update on HISIM Lite. So what we're doing is making sure that the information that's online also goes around the village. Dennis?
Yes, I mean, what we've done, and Don's managing the distribution of this by the street coordinators, is put together a very brief issue of HISIM News, which is totally focused on a whole range of things in terms of both the community response, which businesses were open, or at least businesses that were open on when we put it together. That is constantly changing. So that everybody has got that in one place, but also those people who aren't on the web or aren't on Facebook and aren't on HI Hub will have that information. And that should be printed by today, and Don's hopefully going to pick it up and look at distribution from tomorrow.
Lovely. Thank you, Dennis. And just ask also James. So James Blandford Baker, he's on the meeting today. So an update from you, James. Thank you.
Hi, Yvonne. Thank you very much. There's not much to report, but just to say we have a church group called Talking Futures, which is meeting first time tonight, and we've done some pre-reading on this, all of us, and had some input from various people, and very open to input from others. It's really just to see what life should look like for us as a church, for the local community, and for the global and national situation. So we're obviously very concerned about how we emerge, which has been the theme of this meeting. You know, things like climate and environmental issues obviously are hugely important going forward, but also how we can, as it were, continue the good relationships that have developed over this time, particularly in the local situation and in the local villages. So that's an exciting and kite flying exercise, I guess. So looking forward to that. The other thing is just to say churches remain shut. And the word on the street is that they will be for the foreseeable future. Church of England seems to think they'll be shut at least until Christmas. And in the light of the bishop's foray into the Cummings affair yesterday, it may be a lot longer. Just on the basis that we may not be first priority to open after, as far as the government's concerned. I couldn't possibly comment, of course. But anyway, that's where we are. And I think there's some fantastic connecting going on across churches and across the villages, and you know, it's great to see that. But we are settling down into a, as everyone else has said, into a sort of rhythm and pattern, and therefore there's an opportunity to think about emergence much more, I think, now, which is really important.
Thank you, James. Right, thanks to all our updates. Now over to you. Any questions, any comments, any updates from you on the ground? Thank you. As I say, it's been a short week.
One question. I think it's a good one. And so, you know, the slight controversy perhaps, or different opinions are becoming conflicted about the Thursday clap for the NHS, but also for key workers in general. From Rowley. Rowley, do you want to talk to that, or that's quite clear your message on chat there? You know, what are people's thoughts about encouraging the clap on Thursdays?
As well, I'm not sure.
Hello. Well, I've read that we stopped doing it. I'd actually like to do some clapping for the teachers who've all been they've been left out of this clapping, but it does seem like I'm really interested to know what people think, because it's something we all hold on to every week, but it will have to stop at some point.
Thank you, Rowley. And then just an update on does anyone else want to talk about what we might do in the village? Pippa, any thoughts based on what Rowley has raised?
I was just going to say something. Sorry. my thought with the clapping. I mean, for those that know, I live opposite Tesco's, so we see Tesco's all come out, and it's key workers. It's very much been the thing. It's not just the NHS. We've always said on the high street, and obviously being the high street is not an easy place to connect to other people. But at the same time, it's been a real feel for sort of that's a community and a time we do all see each other and all come out onto the street. So it's a good community and sort of street bonding time, if nothing else, not necessarily just for the NHS. I mean, it is an NHS, but it's clapping for me, for the whole of the key workers, so it does include the teachers and others.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Nick, there's your street is very active, isn't it, on a Thursday evening, Nick Wood? So, you know, that makes sense in terms of continuing to do this. And Chris Cox, you've got a comment on this? Do you want to have a word?
Basically, I really like doing it, mainly because it brings everybody out of their house at the same time, so we all get a chance to see each other, and if we want to, you know, at a sensible distance, go and say hi and check up on people. So I think it's worth carrying on with. I would hesitate to stop it just yet until we've got more back to a more normal way of working.
Yeah, and I would support that as well. I think in terms of this, the more and more now, as we're talking about businesses coming back, about schools making this decision to go back, and we saw IVC's, you know, Ryan Kelsall's message, you know, to people, to teachers and parents about this gradual staged return to schools as well. So for me, I think it's very much, you know, all key workers, all those who are sort of trying to bring us back to some kind of new normal. I would definitely clap, but it's, and for that same community spirit within the streets. And we know that there are difficult political decisions as well, but I don't think the clapping changes that particular piece of it by taking away that you change that.
Okay, all right, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Pippa.
Ian, do you said the original clapping lady suggested this Thursday should be the last night.
Now you're on mute. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so then
can you hear me?
Yeah, we can now.
Oh, okay, thank you. Good morning. Yeah, it's quite good actually, because here Clay Street and all the other streets kind of intersect, and you've got the Ethelred house as well, so everyone comes out, but afterwards, after the 2 minutes of clapping, they kind of, everyone interacts at a distance, and they converge, and it's about 15 minutes afterwards, and everyone peters off. So it's a good community vibe as well, which is a respectful and everything. It's very nice, and people catch up and interact, which isn't a bad thing. It's good for their mental health as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Ian.
And they should keep it going. I mean, it all depends on the political situation as well, which changes every day, as we all know. So I won't go there. Okay, thank you very much. Have a nice day anyway. Bye.
And Francesca, you
Sorry, I'm multitasking, doing various bits and pieces. Yeah, no, I was just thinking it would be nice to, looking at the news this morning, I was reading a story from some key workers who were sort of in Italy, telling of, now the peak's past, they're sort of being forgotten, and a lot of them are left traumatized, and thinking, actually, wouldn't it be worthwhile to try and think longer term about how we support key workers, and what, and acknowledge what they're doing is actually going to have a longer term impact.
That's a great point. That's a great point. And as we look at the emergence as part of the core team, that we are picking up on that. It's a really important point. Thank you, Francesca. Okay,
Could I just share one thing? One thing that we did last Thursday was, we did have somebody who died on our street, and we used Thursday to, in a socially distanced way, but after the clap, we all did a silent virtual hug for the widow. And it was a time for us all to really celebrate that life, have some tears. We couldn't go to the funeral, most people couldn't, and it drew that person out of their house when they were planning not coming out to clap, but when they knew this would happen. And it was the most incredible spontaneous ritual, really. Hugely important, I think, for her mental health, but all of our mental health around that particular issue. So that ability to do that as a street and as a community within a street and neighbourhood it goes beyond, it really is important, I think.
That was really appreciated by the widow, Pippa. She told me about it, and it was profoundly moving for her.
For all of us, I think, yeah.
Yeah. But it really touched her heart, actually, very deeply. So thank you. It was amazing, really.
So Lucy, do you want to move on with your question, refocusing the thanks and praise towards a practical fund, and actually, what Pippa was saying about making sure that actually we're really thinking about the people that are affected. So Lucy, do you want to talk to that?
Thanks. Yeah, just briefly, it was thinking along the same lines as Fran, that it would be good to support people who perhaps their longer term mental health and other issues that arise, having been key workers and often in the background, often perhaps not noticed. We don't want to make a monument, we don't want to make a new sort of cultic event out of this, but it would be valuable to say, look, we recognise these people, let's do something practical, perhaps a fund, perhaps something where we can have a drop-in centre for people, or I don't know what, but to be asking people, what would they like, what would they need, that was basically what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Neil, did you want to come in on that?
We High Friends had a meeting, sort of a conversation last week about sort of how we can best approach the mental health piece. And if we are able to, if the St Andrews Centre is able to reopen in the autumn, then we do hope to provide the Worry Tree Cafe to be held on a weekly basis, and for our mental wellbeing worker also to be available to have conversations, and for her to be able to signpost to relevant services. And over the last month, we've been talking with the infant school and the junior school about additional support through the provision of a community play therapist. Play therapy is sort of used to particularly help mental wellbeing issues with younger children, and the aspiration is really to have this community play therapist who will be able to help the Ladybird Playgroup through to the early year centre, and then up through the infant school and the junior school. And we're hoping to make a decision on this sort of in the next week or so that we can advertise for this completely new role sort of in 2 or 3 weeks' time. There is going to be sort of quite a large financial commitment. I've started to look into grant funding and other sources of funding, but if the community was able to help fundraise for this particular role, then we would be able to increase the number of hours that this role could have. Initially, we're thinking about 10 hours a week, but if we were able to increase that further, I think it will be really, really, really good, so that more and more children could benefit, and sort of people can say sort of what is being done at the village college. I think they have their own internal wellbeing, mental wellbeing support, and by all means we can have a conversation with them, some additional support that they may need. But I think this is a key investment for our young children who nip it in the bud, so to speak. But we hope to inform the community more about this role at the end of next week.
And Neil, just repeat the name of the role for us.
Sorry?
Repeat the name of the role.
Yeah, it's a community play therapist.
And if people want to fundraise, where would they go?
We watch this space. I think the trustees of High Friends need to make the decision on whether to progress with the role next Wednesday, and then we will hopefully announce it and start a recruitment process after that. So yes, we will publicise the how to fund. Yeah.
Watch this space then. Nick, your tagline of thank you, Neil. Your tagline of cheer for the community, cheer for our community. Do you want to just expand on that? It's getting some support. You're on mute, Nick.
I think it's something that I took from Ethelred. So whilst we've all been clapping for the NHS, certainly at one point they were clapping for the community, and I thought that was a really nice thing of Ethelred Care Home to do. And thought it was just, the community is coming together. Should we be clapping for them? I mean, we go out and clap every week, and it's a great time to see neighbours also clapping on their driveways. On Mill Road, we also have drinks on the driveway and stuff like that. Socially distancing drinks. It is good to get out and see people. Clapping for the NHS, for me, it's kind of, yeah, it's good to clap for the NHS, but if we really want to help the NHS, then we should be actually doing stuff for them, fundraising or voting in whatever way we see fit. I'm not really sure where I'm going with this. I typed in clap for the community without a great deal of thought, and now it seems to be picking up pace. But I just think that getting out the house and getting on the driveway and seeing some neighbours and having a brief chat and that kind of thing is a good thing to do, whatever the cause is.
Thank you, Nick.
I mean, clapping for the NHS isn't actually going to make the NHS work better.
Right, and that feeds into Francesca's and
However,
Lucy's
clapping for the
point.
community might help the community work better.
Okay, thank you. And just moving back to, so that Joe, you like that idea. Simon Beard also liked the idea of clapping for the community. And then Rachel Bircher, you've got a good question about, do you want to just make your point? Are you there, Rachel?
Yeah, just unmuting. Yeah, I just I think it's interesting comments to be raised, and certainly on our street, the Thursday clap is very much an opportunity for everyone to see each other and get the morale boost from that, as well as you know, good support for people who are shielding and reliant on the NHS on our street. But I don't know that we as a group need to or should be making a decision for Histon and Impington. I'm not sure it's our remit, and I don't know that we need to make that decision. I think people will over time make their own decisions about it and keep going in, you know, in parts of our community where it makes sense to, and perhaps not if they feel it's not a constructive support anymore. That's all.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you. Pippa, anything you want to say about that, Pippa?
No, I think you know, absolutely. If anything, we're all incredibly independent-minded in this community. It's what it's well known for. So absolutely, Rachel. But I do think it was a good question. I think it is something to think through, and lots of people kind of go through their head around it, and we're helping each other to think about it, and we'll all make our own decisions. But you know, for me, it has that clarity of it. It's really good to share that there are so many other co-benefits of this, and I do have questions about, you know, the questions have been raised about the NHS.
So in the call meeting, oh, you're back.
Oh, sorry.
No. You're just hanging. You're just freezing. Is that the same for everybody?
It's really helpful to know what everybody's thinking, because it's in the media. It might be going through people's minds, and at a street level, it's something that people can decide. But it definitely has a very positive impact in our street, and it is, as everybody's been saying, a really lovely opportunity to see everybody. We wave at each other, we make noise, we have a little chat, and so that's really, really lovely. But I can also see the person who started all this. I can see her point as well, because will it all just sort of die away at some point? I don't know. It's really important to recognise all those people who are putting themselves in the front line on this, and that will continue for a long time, regardless of whether we clap or we don't. But I also like the idea of extending it just to the community, and just recognising what we're all doing in all of this. So, I mean, I can't imagine that my road would want to stop, but I just thought it would be really useful to have that conversation because of the person who started it all and her views. So thank you.
The theme was just about the cards and the newsletters. Don, you've typed an answer. Do you just want to call that out in the meeting about when they'll be delivered?
Yeah, the plan is to pick them all up. So it's cards, just to be clear, it's the wellbeing cards and the newsletter together. Both will be picked up from printout, hopefully today, waiting for confirmation from that. We've then got to create them, sort them out into 89 different bundles, which might take a little bit of time. But the plan is to try to get them out to the street coordinators before the weekend so that they can deliver to everybody in their street. And as just a word about the newsletter, as I think it was Yvonne said earlier, the newsletter is seeking to, Dennis, I think, seeking to capture all of the information that is already out there on the various pieces of social media and the High Hub and the COVID website, onto paper form to make sure that the message is getting through to the people who don't normally have access to that sort of media. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Don.
Can I just make a quick comment on delivery, which will sound funny? I suggest, where possible, people don't tuck the card inside the paper. I appreciate it'd be easy to deliver, and it's up to you how you deliver it, but it does mean it might get missed if they don't open the paper.
Okay, well done, Joe. Thank you. Dom, you'll bear that in mind, will you?
It's already written down in my book to go into the weekly briefing, yes.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, and then there's a really good question from Martin Khan. Martin, do you want to raise your question? Different theme. Martin, are you on mute?
Yeah, I'm trying. Oh, wait.
There you are.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay, fine. Simply that the contacts. There's been endless problems with the contact tracing system. As we relax and people start going to shops, people start going to kids going to school. There's the risk of cases returning. I mean, there are not many cases in South Cambridgeshire. The figures I saw were about one a day in the whole of South Cambridgeshire at the moment, so it really isn't many. But if they started coming back, there doesn't seem really to be a system in place to identify contacts. And maybe there's something we can do. I don't know. There's a whole problem with privacy. But perhaps one could highlight places where people might have come. If we know, in an Optim system, perhaps we could be there to say, if you have it, can you let us know where you've been, so we can highlight where there might be a risk of catching it. I don't know. I just think it's something we need to think about. Maybe there's something we can't do. Maybe there's something there is something we can do. What do you think?
Any thoughts around that? Okay, Martin, we'll take that offline and come back to the group next week. There have been some apps being used, so we'll come back on that next week. So thanks for raising that. And then, is there any other questions before we round off with here? So Pippa, do you want to raise your point again about emergence?
Yeah, so I just wondered if people are interested in this issue about how we build on some of these things. One around that sort of how we're working together as community, looking after each other. What do you keep on longer term about that being neighbourly and looking after each other? And linking that also to sort of the greener co-benefits that we've seen and the cleaner air and more physical activity, the importance of the green spaces, and how we lock some of that in. And James has said, there's your group kind of looking at talking futures, and the council is interested in that greenway. And just at a village level, if anybody's interested, that this group could also have a session on that at some point, throw ideas around. If anybody's interested in that.
Thanks, Pippa. And then I think if there's no other questions, have I missed any? Please, come off mute and speak. Anyone, have I missed any except the last one is about singing in the driveway. So, sorry, I've missed the person who did this. Elaine Diamond, do you just want to raise that? And then Caroline will come to you.
Yeah, it was just an idea. We've been doing it every week. It's been brilliant for getting our community together. So we're on a short cul-de-sac, but we go out once a week and we sing a whole range of stuff, from the wheels on the bus to rock around the clock. But we had this idea of my neighbour had the idea of we go out and we do a whole village doing the same song at the same time. So if we sent out the chords, every guitarist could do it. We could time it. I just think it'd be really good for community togetherness, mental health. It's brilliant. The singing is brilliant for mental health. It's just worth thinking about. You don't need to even talk about it now. It's just something I just want to throw out there.
Should people get in contact with you, Elaine, if they're interested?
Yeah, and I might put something on HI, didgeridoo, people, whatever. Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you. And then Caroline, a question from you.
Yes, well, there was a comment right at the beginning of the meeting about the problem for the people who are shielded, who are not going to be able to start going out and about next week. They've been told not till the end of June. And I just suggested in my question that maybe we could have a group of volunteers who would
phone these people from time to time. I mean, I phone two households in my road that I know are shielded, and I do try to phone them now and then, and they seem to appreciate it. Just, you know, just to know somebody's interested.
That's lovely. And I'm sorry I missed the question because it was right at the top. So Neil, have you got any thoughts on that around the befriending scheme that you run? Any thoughts from you?
Yeah, the befriending scheme is something that we really want to progress sort of once lockdown has emerged, but I also think it's important that you know, we give elderly people a reason to go out. So we are, you know, we have a number of activities and clubs, and you know, we're hoping to perhaps start one or two more. So I think this is all part of the new landscape that we will see emerge perhaps over the next few months. And you know, the village has led sort of with a village wellbeing team and things like that. But I think, you know, we need to develop that, to encourage people to have a sense of purpose, for a reason to go out. And you know, I think, you know, it's important that older, fitter people continue to go out now to perhaps do their shopping if they're able to, and things like that. So it's all part of a conversation that we need to have for the future. And I think, you know, this also ties in with community facilities. You know, we have a shortage of open space in our community, and you know, we need to be progressive, and we need to be visionary to say, look, you know, the 8 acres of public open space that we've got for formal sport is not good enough. We need to say to the parish council, and we need to say to South Cambs, look, we need far more open space, because you know, because exercise and playing sport is good for us.
Sorry, it's not really what I was talking about. I'm talking about the people who are shielded, who have been told they can't go out, they've got to stay in their house and garden, and those are the ones that I'm.
Can I
like to,
on
that? You know, support.
Yeah, go ahead, Pippa. Go ahead.
Sorry, no, Brian's got his hand up, but I think he's probably going to say the same thing. Go on, Brian.
Okay.
Well, one of the things, speaking as someone who's shielded, the ideas of getting people to phone me is great. However, what I see is missing is the statement that says, why don't you, when you need to talk to someone, phone me? To enable the person who's shielded to have an outlet to contact. And I haven't seen that mentioned anywhere.
So, Pippa,
yeah, I think that's what I was thinking, that you could have a, you know, I could be say Brian's friend or somebody else's friend, and yeah, they could phone me. It could be on an individual basis. So, you know, he could phone me, I could phone him.
But is the person who we're trying to help might need an outlet at a particular moment, and have that available is, I think, important.
Pippa, anything to add?
Yeah, we talked about a bit in the core team this morning, and I think so. One is right at the very beginning. Some people offered to be volunteers as phoning, you know, to be able to do that phoning. We could look back at that group of people, but we also talked about the fact that actually a lot of people shielding haven't physically got anything wrong with them right now necessarily, but they have to be very, very careful, and they could also be doing some of the phoning too. You know, really good when you feel you can do something. You're kind of limited, you're sort of trapped inside a bit, and so they, you know, actually some of those people could be involved if they want to too in that phone banking and helping others by phoning.
Yeah,
so I think it's that initiative of let's set up how we can bring people who are, you know, ready to do that phoning. And the second thing was also, I think it was, you know, in an earlier volunteer meeting, how important just even visual, so that socially distancing, checking in on someone across the hedge as well, who's being shielded, because that has been so lacking, the actual visual sort of interaction as well as the phone. And so perhaps we could have a little session on look at that and get some guidance out and get a group doing that, Carolyn. If you're interested in helping with that, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. shall I just email Don and, you know, confirm that?
Brilliant.
Okay. Okay.
I just want to add, I think it's a really important question, because when we had the initial list, there was a lot of people who volunteered to help on the phone, and a lot of people who were shielded. So absolutely brilliant. Well done for raising, Caroline. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And just a couple of more, and then we'll wind up. The community sing, that's getting traction, Dennis. I look forward to hearing you singing on that. Morag, on the initial cards sent out, wasn't there an indication that you could call the street volunteer for a chat? Yes, Morag, there was. And so anyone who can contact their street coordinator or street volunteer, that was a box on the card. Chris Cox, almost like a network of shielded people. Yes, shielded people, and perhaps wider, as you know, carers need some care with their mental health. And Nick, you say who's going to set that up? So Caroline, you'll talk to Don about that, and Neil, I know that's Nick. I know that's something that you'll be interested in as well. Is there anything I've missed? I think we've got all the themes. Anyone else before we round up? Any hands up? Help me with the hands up, guys.
Hi, Yvonne, I just wanted to bring up something technical for everybody. A number of us have had issues with Zoom over the last week or two. It's not particularly to do with the update on PCs or Macs. It's to do with the fact that if you use your mobile phone or your tablet, from time to time, you need to hard reboot your phone or tablet. So I know, for example, Muriel did that and she was successful getting in. And I was trying to ask if Nick could do the same for him to get in. But there are problems with Zoom when people don't reboot their mobile phones and tablets. And if anyone needs a hand with that, they can always drop me a message or give me an email or just Google it. On an iPhone, it's home button power. On Android, it's slightly different.
I tried rebooting twice and it still didn't work. That wasn't the problem.
Can we take the sort of the individual ones off? Nikki, do you want to come in just with your final comment there?
So picking up on what good morning everybody, picking up on what Caroline was saying about shielded people at times wanting to initiate a call to say, please just get in touch with me. I need to offload. If we've been so successfully using the rainbow scheme in various places, is this an opportunity to extend the rainbow scheme poster to people who are shielding, so that when people are walking around, they can see that that person might want to be approached, put up the red question mark, knock on that person's door. How can I help? Should we book a chat sometime? Can I bring a chair to your front garden and we'll have a natter through the window? That type of idea.
And Nikki, you raised this a couple of weeks ago. I think there is a potential there. Nick, are you hands up?
Yeah. On this having a chat with people thing, I'd really quite like to know. So Caroline's going to have a chat with somebody about it, with Don about it. I'd really like to know when it's going to get set up by, because what generally happens, and this isn't a dig at anybody at all, because it happens all the time everywhere, but what happens is we talk about something, then we talk about it a bit more, then somebody has a nice chat with a couple of people, and then we still don't have something concrete set up. I'd like to see something set up, by the end of today, even if it's not perfect, even if it's, not what we'll end up with in 2 weeks' time. Just set something up now.
So Nick,
let's not wait for 3 weeks and all have a nice chat about stuff. Let's just get something done.
Nick, can we ask Caroline and just say, Caroline, what's your timetable and when would you like to, talk with Don about this? Set your own.
Yeah, I can talk to Don today. I mean, I'm just thinking about how we would actually know where the shielded people are. I think what we might need to do is for the individual street volunteers to go to those that they know are shielded.
So Caroline, we have provided that some additional information to street coordinators when there are people, that we've got indications that may be in those kind of groups. So that information has already been shared with street coordinators. So there's quite a good sense already within the street. So yes, you could build on that.
Oh, well, I've only known about them because they've told me. I don't think that anyone's anyway, okay, if we've got the people, and then we just need to find the volunteers. But again, I think that should be done at street coordinator level. I mean, I know someone down the road who's shielded, and she would probably love to talk to another one that's shielded. So yeah.
So when will we have a village-wide network of people talking to each other?
Nick, shall Caroline talk to Don and come up with a timeline, and then we'll go from there. Nick, you can be involved at will.
No, I don't want to be involved. I just want to know when it's going to be. I think it's really, really important that it gets set up.
Good. So thanks, Nick. Let's leave it in Caroline and Don's hands. Okay. Right. Thanks very much.
Just to say that Don's very, very busy this week, so nothing will be happening this week if it's down to me.
Okay, well, so I can do.
So I'm happy to help.
Talk to me, Caroline, please. Talk to me, and I can send out the word, but I won't be able to do anything myself this week.
No.
So I'm happy again. This is exactly what happens. You know, everybody's busy and stuff. I know you're trying to shut me up because whatever, but this is important to get set up, and it needs to be set up today or tomorrow, not when Don's got some free time eventually, which he probably won't have, and when everybody's had a nice chat about it.
Let's do.
It just needs to be set up.
Let's do more, Nick. Let's get that underway. I agree with you.
So who's going to get it underway and by when?
Well, Nick, I do know a few people that I can ask.
Thank you, Caroline. Yeah.
So when
Nick, I'll catch up with you.
When can we have this done by?
Nick, I'll catch up with you after the meeting. Is that okay?
No, because we're just going to have a nice chat about stuff. And
no, we don't want a nice chat. I'll catch up with you. Okay, and then just Morag, I think your point is also important, and then and Nick will come back to you. Morag, do you just want to raise your point, which I think is an important one?
So it's following on from Nikki's point about extending the rainbow scheme, which is great, and I think it works really well in those areas where there are identified areas of vulnerable people. I'm more worried about it going widespread, just because I think that there's a potential for those rainbow symbols to mark out vulnerable residents. And as the world wakes up a little bit more and more people are out and about, people we don't necessarily know, then I'm concerned that will actually highlight their vulnerable status and make them potential targets for not very nice activity. Don't really know what to say there. I'm not saying it shouldn't happen. I just think we need to bear that in mind.
I think that's good, and I know that John, when he was setting up the original scheme, really thought that through, talked it through with the police as well, and some of the South Cams sheltered housing managers as well. John, I don't know if you want to come back on this, but it is obviously it's an important point.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, it's just that I do agree with the comment that if you just put a rainbow up and things, people can go round. So the most important thing is you have a photograph of the people who go round, which is why both Nikki and I have had to redo the notices because we've had volunteers change. And we also have a password. So if people come to the door, they don't know the password, the old people don't let them in. That's why we did it. But it does mean that we can do home field. Every day we pass through home field, and you can walk or cycle round and find out if there's anybody who's in need within 10 minutes rather than knocking on everyone's door all the time. But then we mix it up every now and then. I knock on the doors and go and say hello to people.
Yeah, so thanks for raising that, Morag. I think it's really important. So, building on Nikki's suggestion there, if street coordinators are interested in rolling that out, and it's not necessarily what Caroline's talking about, it could be a complementary thing to that. Then I think going back and talking with John about it and making sure that it's built on those same principles is key.
Also good to talk to John to get the feedback as to how that scheme's been working. Is that fine? That might be your first call, if that's okay. John, are you okay with that?
Yeah, sure.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we'll wind it up there. Thank you for staying the whole hour. Really appreciate it. We'll collate the themes and make sure the recording is on the website as it always is. And any further questions, please do contact Don, Pippa, me, Nick for business, Neil for wellbeing, and look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you very much. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. John, thanks for the technical. That's really important, and you've been a real help on technical for all of us. So thank you for that.
Cheers. Bye bye.